Breaking right now, Canada has stunned the world with a shock announcement. Citizens of 10 Asian nations can now enter visa-free starting 2025. Could this be a game changer for travel, immigration, and diplomacy? Stay tuned, because today we dive deep into what this could mean for you, your country, and Canada's global strategy. Country 1. Japan. Japan, known for its powerful passport and strong economic ties to Canada, leaps to the forefront in this shift. A visa waiver would catapult tourism, with Japanese travelers flocking to Vancouver's cherry blossoms and skiing in Whistler. It could also open doors for business travelers and students seeking exchange opportunities. Imagine accelerated post-secondary enrollment, seminars, and research partnerships between Canadian and Japanese universities. Cultural exchange, off the charts. Economically, Canadian businesses, especially tech and tourism, stand to gain. Conversely, Canada would need stricter screening to maintain border integrity. But overall, it's a high-impact move. Seamless travel, bustling tourism streams, and a strengthening of the Canada-Japan partnership. Country 2. South Korea. South Korea's visa-free access would spark a surge in K-culture fans eager for Korean music festivals, film shoots, and gastronomy tours across Canada. Think Vancouver's Koreatown thriving like never before. South Korean investors might find new interest in Canada's tech and film industries. Student exchange would become easier, enhancing STEM partnerships. However, IRCC will need to scale up visa waiver protocols to handle sudden travel waves. There's also the potential for seasonal over-tourism. Still, the long-term payoff is massive: deeper trade collaboration, cultural synergy, and a high-value tourism market ready to explore Canada's natural landscapes. Country 3. China. China's inclusion sets off shockwaves in both policy circles and travel agencies. Chinese tourists would flood major cities and national parks. The economic boost could be staggering: hotels, tour operators, retail. But Canada also faces scrutiny around social integration, data security, given geopolitical sensitivities, and ensuring reciprocal access. Education flows might expand, but IRCC must balance visa compliance with demand. The visa-free move could signal a strategic pivot in Canada-China relations, smoothing barriers in business and academia, if both sides can manage security and diplomatic risk together. Country 4. Indonesia. Indonesia's inclusion in the visa-free move would mark a striking development in Canada-Asia relations. With a recent comprehensive economic partnership agreement signed in December 2024, set to come into effect in 2026, Canada and Indonesia are already charting a path of deeper trade cooperation, particularly in critical minerals and sustainable growth. Visa-free access would accelerate that momentum. Canadian universities could see a rise in Indonesian students, especially in fields like engineering, environmental science, and resource management. Tourists would flock to experience Canada's famed wilderness, while Indonesian entrepreneurs and investors might explore joint ventures in Canadian tech and natural resources. Canada would, however, need to ensure robust entry screening processes. Still, the upside: broader economic engagement, enriched academia, and two-way tourism makes Indonesia a smart, future-forward choice. Country 5. Philippines. For many Filipinos, gaining visa-free access to Canada in this scenario would be more than just convenient, it would be transformative. Canada is already home to nearly 1 million people of Philippine origin, with the community being the third largest visible minority in the country. Visa freedom would simplify family reunions, allowing grandparents, children, and extended relatives to visit without lengthy visa queues and costs. Remittances could increase as families divide visits more freely and work opportunities expand. Students would also benefit. No visa travel could encourage more Filipinos to engage in short-term academic programs, cultural exchanges, and professional training in Canada's top universities. At the same time, Canada's healthcare, hospitality, and service sectors could gain significantly from Filipino skilled workers and tourists. The existing pipeline of overseas Filipino workers, particularly in healthcare, would grow stronger, but it would also necessitate streamlined work permit processes and improved health system integration to ensure seamless assimilation. Travel and education service providers, schools, airlines, tour operators, would need to adapt rapidly to rising demand, updating orientation programs and infrastructure. In short, visa freedom for Filipinos could foster deeper cultural ties, economic gains, and enriched bilateral engagement between the two nations. Country 6, Singapore. Singapore's inclusion in the visa-free lineup is a strategic win for Canada. The city-state holds the most powerful passport in the world, offering visa-free or visa-on-arrival access to 193 countries as of May 2025. That means its travelers are seasoned, high-compliance globetrotters, and Canadians can expect top-tier tourists, investors, and business visitors. Picture affluent Singaporeans exploring Canada's luxury resorts, Arctic cruises, and exclusive nature retreats, all without formal visa procedures. This luxury travel segment drives high-value tourism revenues while requiring minimal adjustment by Canadian border and tourism infrastructure. But the benefits go well beyond travel. Canada-Singapore relations are already robust. Singapore is Canada's largest Southeast Asian source of foreign direct investment, and a critical venture capital gateway for expanding Canadian startups in the region. Visa-free access would cement these ties, making it easier for Singaporean VCs to visit Canadian incubators and for Canadian entrepreneurs to attend summits in Singapore. With existing frameworks like the CPTPP, venture investment, fintech, and innovation partnerships are set to accelerate into 2025 and beyond. Low risk, high impact. Singapore's addition reinforces Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy while delivering high-quality tourism and strategic investment. Country 7, Thailand. Thailand is a wellspring of vibrant, adventure-seeking travelers, and visa-free access would reignite their passion for Canada's wilderness, national parks, and upscale urban experiences. Even now, over 100,000 Canadians visit Thailand each year via boosted Air Canada routes, showing the strong travel interest between the two nations. Imagine Thais exploring Canada's snowy Rockies, cruising through the Arctic, or discovering Montreal's cultural tapestry. Multi-generational family trips, grandparents alongside teens, become smoother and more frequent as Canada's parks and city festivals become accessible without a visa. Educational exchanges are ready to evolve. 2. Thailand's rising interest in international culinary and hospitality training, highlighted by schools like Le Cordon Bleu d'Usset in Bangkok, suggests strong demand for Canadian culinary arts programs for Thai students. Imagine Thai chefs mastering Canadian techniques in Calgary or Vancouver, then returning home to fuse cuisines. On the logistical side, Canada would need to adjust its seasonal travel logistics and visa waiver security screening to manage peak season flows and prevent over-tourism. Despite these considerations, visa-free access for Thai travelers would diversify Canada's visitor base, boost high-value experiential tourism, and enrich cultural and educational ties between the two nations. Country 8, Malaysia. Malaysia brings a vibrant mix of students, professionals, and young families, making it a dynamic addition to Canada's envisioned visa-free cohort. Diplomatic ties between Canada and Malaysia span 68 years as of 2025, with both countries enjoying stable Commonwealth relations and robust trade links amounting to approximately $5 billion in 2024. Under the CPTPP, cooperation in services, education, and technology has been steadily increasing. Malaysia even ratified the agreement in late 2022. Visa-free access would turbocharge these ties. Expect an influx of Malaysian students into Canadian universities in Toronto, Montreal, and Calgary, plus professionals exploring tech and clean tech collaborations. The removal of visa barriers would also smooth the transition for families seeking new horizons. At the same time, appropriate screening safeguards remain crucial. Malaysian travelers are generally compliant and culturally adaptable, traits that reduce the risk of overstay and ease integration, making them excellent candidates for a visa-free pilot program. Canada would need to adjust its entry processes and student or work permit screening capacity to handle growing interest, but the payoff could be significant. Enhanced bilateral linkages in education, investments in green tech and cybersecurity, as seen with Petronas and BlackBerry, and a more diverse multicultural fabric are realistic outcomes. All in all, Malaysia presents a promising, well-balanced opportunity for Canada's strategic expansion of global mobility. Country 9, Vietnam. Vietnam has rapidly emerged as a major player in Canada's international student and tourism markets. As of 2023, over 20,000 Vietnamese students were studying in Canada, making Vietnam the largest source of international learners in Southeast Asia and the fifth largest globally. These students are particularly drawn to STEM, business, and environmental science fields, fueling university research and innovation. Visa-free access could propel even more Vietnamese youth into Canadian colleges and universities, especially in Ontario, British Columbia, and Alberta. This influx would further enrich campus diversity, stimulate local economies, and strengthen academic partnerships between Canadian and Vietnamese institutions. Beyond education, Canada-Vietnam trade and tourism are on a high-growth trajectory. Merchandise trade nearly doubled from US $6.5 billion in 2018 to US $14 billion in 2023, bolstered by CPTPP ties. With visa-free entry, Vietnamese tourists, an increasingly adventurous demographic, could explore Canada's scenic destinations from Banff to Quebec's heritage sites. While business visitors enhance trade and investment collaboration, Canada's agriculture and service sectors could also benefit from Vietnamese expertise. In essence, visa freedom for Vietnam isn't just travel-friendly, it's a strategic move to deepen educational, economic, and cultural bridges on both sides. Country 10, Bangladesh. Bangladesh's inclusion in Canada's visa-free roster would open new horizons in economic, educational, and cultural exchange. Canada has maintained bilateral diplomatic relations with Bangladesh since 1972, with more than 100,000 Canadians of Bangladeshi origin, particularly in cities like Toronto and Vancouver, creating strong people-to-people channels. Trade between the nations has surged, reaching over $3.5 billion in 2023, led by Canadian exports of potash and cereals and Bangladeshi garment exports. Visa-free access would catalyze student mobility, drawing Bangladeshi youth into Canadian higher education, especially in agriculture, public health, and governance, enhancing development partnerships and skills pipelines shaped by decades of Canada's international assistance, $6.2 billion since 1972. On the social front, easier travel enables more frequent family reunions, cultural festivals, and community ties, deepening the multicultural fabric of both nations. Secure entry protocols would be essential to monitor migration flows and maintain border integrity. Yet Bangladeshi travelers generally exhibit reliable compliance. Tourism could also benefit. Canada's ecotourism offerings, national parks, wilderness retreats, would attract environmentally conscious Bangladeshi visitors. Strategically, Bangladesh's visa-free status would symbolize Canada's commitment to South Asia beyond India and Southeast Asia, supporting its broader Indo-Pacific engagement while generating tangible gains in trade, education, and cultural diplomacy. As we've imagined today, Canada's hypothetical visa-free move for 10 key Asian nations could mark a bold chapter in its Indo-Pacific engagement, supercharging tourism, enriching campuses, and strengthening trade, investment, and cultural ties. Such a policy aligns with Canada's real strategy to expand people-to-people connections across Asia, as seen in its ongoing Indo-Pacific initiatives to boost visa processing, education exchanges, and tourism from that region. In short, visa freedom isn't just a matter of travel, it's a strategic investment in economic growth, global diplomacy, and shared prosperity. So tell us, which country's visa-free access would excite you the most? Drop your thoughts below. Hit like if you enjoyed the deep dive.